Hi there, I'm back to read you some more fairy tales, and tonight we're starting again with an Italian one from Italo Calvino's Italian folk tales. Just giving you something to listen to while we're all locked inside, and hopefully something to send you to sleep, maybe. So this story is called The Little Girl Sold with the Pears. Once a man had a pear tree that used to bear 4 baskets of pears a year. One year, though, it only bore 3.5 baskets, while he was supposed to carry 4 to the king. Seeing no other way out, he put his youngest daughter into the 4th basket and covered her up with pears and leaves. The baskets were carried to the king's pantry, where the child stayed in, hiding underneath the pears. Having nothing to eat, she began nibbling on the pears. And after a while, the servants noticed the supply of pears dwindling and also saw the cause. "There must be a rat or a mole gnawing at the pears," they said. "We shall have to look inside the baskets." They removed the top and found the little girl. "What are you doing in here?" they asked. "Come with us and work in the king's kitchen." They called her Pernia, and she was a clever little girl, and in no time she was doing the housework better than the king's own maidservants. And she was so pretty no one could help but love her. The king's son, who was her own age exactly, was always with Pernia, and they became very fond of each other. As the maiden grew up, the maidservants began to envy her. They held their tongues for a while they accused Pernia of boasting she would go and steal the witch's treasure. The king's son got wind of it and sent for the girl. "Is it true you boasted you would go and steal the witch's treasure?" "No, sacred crown, I swear, I said no such boast." "You did so," insisted the king, "and now you will have to keep your word." At that, he banished her from the palace until she could return with the treasure. On and on she walked until nightfall. Pernia came to an apple tree, but kept going. She came to a peach tree, but did not stop. Then she came to a pear tree, and she climbed it and fell asleep. In the morning there stood a little old woman under the tree. "What are you doing up there, my daughter?" Pernia told her about her difficulty, and the old woman said, "Take these 3 pounds of grease, 3 pounds of bread, and 3 pounds of millet, and be on your way." Pernia thanked her very much and moved on. She came to a bakery where 3 women were pulling out their hair to sweep out the oven with. Pernia gave them the 3 pounds of millet, which they then used to sweep out the oven and allowed the little girl to continue on her way. On and on she walked, and then she met 3 mastiffs that barked and rushed at anyone coming their way. Pernia threw them the 3 pounds of bread, and they let her pass. After walking miles and miles, she came to a blood-red river, which she had no idea how to cross. But the old woman had told her to say, "Fine water so red, I must make haste, else of you I would taste." At those words, the water parted and let her through. On the other side of the river, Pernia beheld one of the finest and largest palaces in the world. But the doors were opening and slamming so rapidly that no one could go in. Pernia therefore applied the 3 pounds of grease to its hinges, and from then on it opened and closed quite gently. Inside, Pernia spied a treasure chest sitting on a small table. She picked it up and was about to go off with it when the chest spoke, "Door, kill her, kill her!" "I won't either, since she greased my greasy hinges. That hadn't been looked after since goodness knows when," said the door. Pernia reached the river, and the chest said, "River, river, drown her." "I won't," replied the river, "since she called to me, fine water so red." She came to the dogs, and the chest said, "Dogs, devour her, devour her." "We won't either," replied the dogs, "since she gave us 3 pounds of bread." She came to the bakery oven. "Oven, oven, burn her," called the chest, but the 3 women replied, "We won't either, since she gave us 3 pounds of millet, so we had spare our hair." When she was almost home, Pernia, who had so much curiosity as the next girl, decided to peep into the treasure chest. She opened it, and out came a hen and her brood of gold chicks. They scuttled away too fast for a soul to catch them. Pernia struck out after them. She passed the apple tree, but they were nowhere in sight. She passed the peach tree, but there was still no sign of them. And she came to the pear tree, and there stood the little old woman with her wand in her hand, and the hen and the chicks feeding around her. Shoo, shoo, went the old woman, and the hen and the chicks re-entered the treasure chest. Upon her arrival, the king's son came out to meet her. When my father asks you what you want as a reward, tell him that box filled with coal in the cellar. On the doorstep of the royal palace stood maidservants and the king and the entire court, and Pernia handed the king the hen with a brood of gold chicks. Ask for what you want, said the king, and I will give it to you. I would like the box of coal in the cellar, replied Pernia. And they brought her a box of coal, and when she opened it, out jumped the king's son, who was hiding inside. The king was happy from then on for Pernia to marry his son. That story is from Monferrato.